For some reason, I always catch sick before I end up recording the voice for this, so I might sound like shit. Also because I'm running out of time, because it took me too long, and also because I'm sick and all that fucking shit. I'm gonna do this all in one take. Alright, let's fucking do this. Hello and welcome to the objectively best Webtoon tier list 2023 edition. Why is it called this long convoluted name? Well, this tier list is objectively the best because I've read all the Webtoons showcased in their entirety. I've ranked them in 7 categories: romance, comedy, character, story, unique, art, and external. And I placed those rankings on a standard bell curve from 0 to 100. Then I summed them all up, I stretched the data to get an objective score on how good a Webtoon is, and then that's what is going to be displayed. However, at the end of the day, this tier list is subjective because these are all my opinion, and each of these categories that I've ranked are, again, just my opinion, and you can differ on them. And you are wrong if you differ on them. If you are strapped for time, feel free to skip ahead to the A or S tier sections and watch those as recommendations. Also, because of the nature of bell curves, the tiers in these videos don't mean the same thing they do in other tier list videos. So, I will quickly go over the tiers and what they mean in this video. F tier does not mean that the Webtoons are stupid and horrendous and terrible, it just means that they're not interesting or don't update frequently enough to keep the interest high. E tier Webtoons are overall okay, but usually have a few things that are holding them back from being a higher tier. D tier has Webtoons that are just okay, nothing super extraordinary. C tier has the average good Webtoon, each of them has something cool and unique to offer. B tier has some great Webtoons that are exciting to read each time they update. A tier has the amazing Webtoons that are so damn good that it took me forever to pick which ones should be A tier basically and which ones sadly had to be B tier. And S tier Webtoons are the absolutely goated cream of the crop Webtoons that will never ever be other ones like this, the exact same as these S tiers ever again. The Webtoons I include in this video are Webtoons that I've either fully read in 2023 or have updated at least twice, and I've started to read in 2023 and have more than 3 episodes. The reason for these restrictions is that if I don't do these restrictions, then I have either not read this Webtoons all year or they've updated so freaking infrequently that I don't know what to talk about because I haven't read it in recent times. At the end of this video, I'll put all the Webtoons that were ranked last year but didn't rank this year for various reasons, and so just so that people won't be like, oh, where's XYZ Webtoon, like I ranked it last year so we can fucking see it. If you want to go check those out real quick, then you can. If not, just, continue along. You also can't compare the last year's Webtoon tier list and this one for any real meaningful information because each tier list has the Webtoons compared against each other. So a Webtoon that is C tier this year is actually way better than the Webtoon C tier last year because I don't know why. Either the Webtoons just got better or I just got better at picking good Webtoons. I don't know what the hell happened. Since there's so many Webtoons I have to review, I can't spend too much time on each, so I will stop introing and explaining shit and just jump right into the video. Also, if you want me to make a separate video on any of these Webtoons, please leave a comment and I'll try to get to that. Clinic of Horrors is a comic made by Merriweather Studios, and if you don't know who Merriweather is, then you will learn periodically throughout the video. I won't talk about it much because all it updated this year was a few mini episodes, and I don't think Merriweather will care about this Webtoon, so why should I? Internet Explorer is another Merriweather comic. Merriweather makes a lot of damn comics, and he doesn't finish them, or he just flat out forgets they exist. It has updated decently randomly over the first half of 2023, and it just fucking stopped. It's a cool comic about waifu personified browsers and has some sick history, but that doesn't matter if there's not much Webtoon to read. Crawling Dreams is another Merriweather. It is Lovecraftian horror Webtoon, but the horrors are waifu humans. If you can't tell the pattern already, Merriweather Studios is kind of a one-trick pony in terms of its main gimmick being that it just turns things into anime waifus. I think that this has potential, but it's sad to know that I'm not being a pessimist by believing that the Webtoon will never reach its full height. Meme Girls is another Merriweather that personifies things in meme culture as anime waifus. Again, it's the same old stuff. Oh, by the way, did I mention Merriweather doesn't also fucking draw anything. Merriweather hires artists, which kind of has an impersonal feel, as a lot of the other Webtoons usually have a much more tight-knit artist and writer, while these ones are a lot more impersonal. But besides that, this Meme Girls is actually pretty good. It's actually higher than the other ones because it's comedic and it's on recent events. But once again, the thing that's holding it back is that he just does not update it. And when he does update it, it's usually for mini-series that should fucking be here, but he ends up deleting those episodes and turning them into full series, which they clearly don't deserve, because he's not going to finish them. I'm sorry that the F tier section is an entire Merriweather rant, but his Webtoons qualify for the tier list, so they belong here. The Gamer is not a Merriweather, hooray, and has a great upload schedule. However, the story translation to English is convoluted, the power scaling is absolutely fucking bonkers, and there is absolutely no suspense, because the MC has literally never lost at anything ever. The idea about getting gamer-like powers in the real world is really interesting, and I think that this Webtoon does a decent enough job kind of talking about it in the past, but this year it just feels like it just kind of forgot about it, and it just seems to be like a really complex, convoluted war that's going on, and I don't really care about it because the gamer will always win, so why should I have any sort of suspension of disbelief? Because it's so long. Also, the episodes are getting shorter and shorter, and I really hope that the series is coming to a close because it's really setting up that way, and if it sets it up nicely and does it, I can actually increase the rating. of this webtoon, but for right now, it goes in F tier. True Beauty is at the bottom of E tier because it is the most bog standard webtoon I have ever read. It is a love triangle between a makeup influencer, the son of an actor, and a K-pop idol, which is like the most basic love triangle setup I have ever witnessed. I might get a lot of hate for this because True Beauty is one of the biggest webtoons on the platform, but it doesn't get really much more interesting besides the beautiful art. The main female love interest is an unattractive girl who looks beautiful with makeup, so you'll think that the name True Beauty would imply it being about looking within and looking past her looks. And while the webtoon does touch on that, it is very brief and surface level. Goth Boy and the Jock is a gay Merryweather webtoon about a male jock and a male goth falling in love. It is an abandoned webtoon, and it is actually a spin-off of a different webtoon, and honestly it should have stayed that way instead of being a whole ass new webtoon. Because Merryweather insists on making new webtoons for literally every tiny idea that he has, it goes in E tier. A Girl Called Lapin is a webtoon that posts short faux comas about a bunny girl, and it is very horny, and that's basically all it. Monsters and Girls is a webtoon about really sexy plague doctors, demons, and angels. You never know what you're gonna get with this webtoon besides that it's a little horny. And it's a fun short binge read if you're looking to pass some time. Zomcom is another short webtoon series about humanoid creatures and the antics about them. Not much to say except that the author Emmy has made the webtoon Axed, which is an amazing webtoon that I'm not rating this year as it finished at the end of 2020. Smile Brush is an absolutely ancient webtoon that I dug up and read this year. It is the oldest webtoon on this list, and it is a very cute comic about a guy with long hair. The only reason why it's E tier is because it's very forgettable, and I honestly just forgot to put it on this webtoon tier list until like much later. Emmy Go is a webtoon written by Emmy, who wrote Zomcom and Axe that I talked about previously. It is a simple slice of life, and there's something about it that just makes it better than the others that I can't justify with words. You have to just read it to feel it for yourself. Luggage is a world where some luggage leads to an entirely different dimension. I think this webtoon is actually really cool, as the luggage not only is literal, but it also symbolizes the emotional baggage that the characters have to overcome throughout the series. It is really only A tier because of the inconsistent uploads and the convoluted story, but it has potential to be a solid B tier. Also, I really like how the stories kind of intertwine and meet up with all the characters. I think it's really cool how they're all tied together to this like one plane flight. Demon Prince and the Salaryman is a Merryweather about a timid salaryman who makes a deal with the cute demon prince for power. The issue I have with this webtoon is I feel like the gay romance is very sexualized, and the story, in air quotations, is flimsy at best and non-existent at worst. Still, I can't say it was bad as some of the other webtoons, so top of your tier it goes. Adventures of God is a webtoon about the shenanigans between God, Jesus, and Satan, but it is a slice of life comedy. It's honestly a cool concept, but I can't say that I would continue reading it if I didn't just read every single webtoon to completion. The Little Trash Maid is another short 4-coma webtoon about mermaids trapped in trash. I think the environmental message is really good, and I like the style as there's no dialogue, but the stories still get told. The only reason that it's in E tier is because it updates infrequently and is forgettable as a result. Nice to Meet You is a cute love triangle webtoon, and the main reason why it's down here is because the series ended extremely abruptly and the ending wasn't even that good. It was honestly pretty bad, and that's not just my opinion. The opinion of the comments kind of all agree that it's not exact. That we all don't like how the ending kind of happened. Safely in Danger is another 4-coma comedy webtoon about literally anything, and honestly some of the comics that come out are pretty banger. Some of the episodes actually do the unthinkable and venture past the webtoon sphere and become memes, which is super cool to see. Goth Girl and the Jock is another Merryweather, and it is a sweet little love story about a female goth and a male jock. My main problem with this one is that the series should have ended, but Merryweather just said, oh, it's the end of the season, and he says he's planning on to continue later, which is a step in the right direction, because he's at least ending a season, but I really feel he should just ended the series altogether, because I'm going to be honest, there is very little chance that he comes back to it, and if he does come back to it, it's going to be rushed, it's going to be small, it's going to be bad. There's not very much chance. I don't hate Merryweather, by the way. I want to make it clear. Merryweather has posted some really good webtoons that I talked about in the past. However, it just seems like he has trouble with actually sticking to the webtoons, so we just get a whole bunch of cool concepts that are just not fully in their fruition. Anyways, off of the Merryweather, Everything is Fine is a horror webtoon that is about a dystopian society, and it's very interesting to get glimpses into how things were before the apocalypse, the decomposition of humanity when push comes to shove, and the fucked up things that happen as a result. The only reason why it isn't higher is very simple. I'm a pussy. This webtoon creeps me out and depresses me a lot. I can in goodwill put it higher because of that, but it is still a absolutely banger webtoon, and if you're watching this, please give it a read. Litterbox Comics is a slice of life with a furry twist. It is essentially a mother of two drawing her experiences of parenting, and there's not much really to say besides that. Simply Silly is hard to describe, but it boils down to idiocy and chaos. There are stories, side stories, romance, drama, and it still maintains humor on top of that. It's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal, but that doesn't mean it's still not pretty good. Just Pancakes is a story about 3 food wizards running a restaurant, the idea of food magic, or foodjic as the webtoon calls it. And if that doesn't make you wonder what kind of world this is set in, then you probably won't enjoy it. Succubus X Delinquent is a horror Merryweather Succubus X Delinquent is a horny Merryweather that is what I call a horny bait webtoon. Merryweather has a few webtoons that exist purely so that he can make attractive characters that he can make elusive on his Patreon. Nevertheless, it's pretty alright, and Merryweather claims to have an ending plan, so I will keep my hopes high. Game Master Shippuden is the unofficial third series of the webtoon Game Masters, which I'll talk about later. The art style is different and takes the story in a more serious way, which is cool, but the series started off as a comedy, and I think that Game Master series should stay a comedy. Legends of Silica is about talking gorilla glassmakers in a magical fantasy world. Really, the only issue I have with this webtoon is that the episodes take forever to come out, but otherwise, it's just so cool and unique. Loving Reaper is a story about life and death personified, and showing them not against each other, but as two sides of the same coin, so to speak. It has an amazing message about the issues of humanity, but again, it depresses me, so I can't really rate it that high. Blue Chair is the most memed webtoon ever. He made the amateurs meme, the never leave your safe square meme, and the bike stolen meme, if you've seen those, and a whole bunch more that probably got memed out in a shorter lifespan. He has made over 1,000 short comics, and you never know what you're gonna get. Most of the time they're mid, but occasionally I get surprised by a few random banger episodes that he releases. Witcher Moon is the best Merryweather that updated this year. It is one of those partial isekais where there's a hyper-realistic video game, but it's actually not half bad. He's continued for quite a long while, and I think it's dragging on a little bit, and the story has taken some strange turns, but besides that, it's actually a fun read. Public UR Club is made by Shen, who also made Blue Chair, as I talked about earlier. Honestly, it would have rated much higher if it updated more, because the episodes you can read are really good. It's about this art club in a public university, and it feels like it's just a huge running joke. The humor is actually quite funny, and it has awesome college vibes I'm a big fan of. Tales of Outcast are separate stories spinning off of the different webtoon that's higher on this tier list. These tales flesh out the world a little bit, and it's just cool to see random side bits. Moomin is a webtoon about werewolves and witches. It switches between being the most middle school vibe webtoon ever to being quite dark in an instant. It's a fun read, but don't expect too much of breaking out the mold except for really random bits in the middle. Live With Yourself was originally made by Shen, and is now being carried on by David J. Catman, who made other webtoons like Mercworks, as I read in the past. The story is about a dude who got split into 4 versions of himself: his baby version Babs, his current version Todd, his tomorrow version Tomo, and his old self Oldie. It has this weird paradox thing, and it just takes itself completely unseriously, and it's really cool to see how each of these people affect the current day, and they also sometimes have like weird powers that got added in this year, and I think it's really cool to see how those get into play with it, and Todd's relationships, and how the future predictions like Tomo and Oldie can kind of affect that is really, really interesting. The First Night with the Duke is a entering into the fantasy world via book isekai story. And it's a romance, and the plot, while very simple and not very original, was actually still a pretty cool read with really pretty art and designs. Also, Sylvia is fucking awesome. Pixie and Brutus are short comedy strips about a retired war dog, Brutus, and a cute little kitten, Pixie. The webtoon has a whole bunch of other characters too, and seeing their interactions is quite humorous. Maya's World is a continuation of the webtoon Lars' Heart. It is finished this year, and honestly, I don't know how to feel about the ending. Overall, I think it was an alright webtoon, but I feel like it dropped the ball near the end, which is why it's rated much lower than I think it would have been if the ending was actually better. Game Master is the webtoon about the dudes living in a D&D like fantasy world, but they're super lazy and all they want to do play D&D at home. I think that this concept is quite funny on its own, but I do think it's a little bad that they over-exaggerate the D&D tropes, which is a little bit cringe, but it's quite funny actually. Irma is the webtoon I referenced earlier when I was talking about Tales of Outcast. Irma is about this cute little ghost girl who is the daughter of essentially Sadako from The Ring, who is a Japanese yokai, and a normal human dude. This story took some hella crazy turns this year, which is cool, but it's way off of what the story was initially, which is just some cute little strips. Nevertheless, it was, and still is, a pretty cute comic. My Giant Nerd Boyfriend is a webtoon about a short girl dating a tall guy. Spoilers, I guess, but they got married this year, and seeing their journey from dating through marriage throughout the comics is a beautiful thing to witness. Relationship goals as fuck. The Strongest Florist is another one of those hyper-realistic video game webtoons, but this one has quite the cool premise. It's about a boxer who really likes flowers, but since he can't start the flower shop of his dreams in the real world, he does so in this video game. During the process, he starts a crazy chain of reactions due to him getting loads of power from this untapped niche of flower picking, and all he's using the power for is publicity for his flower shop. It's pretty absurd, but it suffers from the power scaling issue that all of the other webtoons of this variety suffer from. Plus 9 and Reinforced Stick is another realistic VR video game type webtoon that takes the power scaling to an absurd level, and I'm really not a fan of that. The only reason why it's up here in the mid C tiers is because the art is fucking gorgeous. I would recommend reading it just to see the beautiful art alone. Archie Comics Big Ethel Energy is a spin-off of the Archie series, focusing on the side character Ethel. It's a romance drama style webtoon, and it's strange because on one hand I think it's really good in trying to portray human flaws, but on the other hand these human flaws piss me the fuck out. So it gets a slight edge for me for being an Archie comic, but besides that, C tier it goes. Morgana and Oz is a webtoon I grinded out this month that I normally wouldn't have read that fast if it wasn't wasn't for being so fucking pretty. I don't know what about the art just fucking does me in, and honestly, there's a lot of other things good about it too that could easily make it B tier, but because it's a recent thing, I have to account for the recency bias, because recent webtoons will probably get ranked higher because of it. So because of recency bias, I will place it in C tier. Batman Wayne Family Adventures is a webtoon about the DCU centered around the family life of Batman and his various Robins. I know jack shit about the DCU, however, I found this webtoon pretty enjoyable, and I think if you enjoy slice of life and Batman, you will definitely also enjoy this webtoon as well. Nerd and Jock is a wholesome story about a nerd and a jock and their strange friendships. This year, the comic had an arc where the nerd gets a girlfriend, and it was blowing up on YouTube dubbing channels. It's super cute and chill, but not much besides that. A Bittersweet Life is the first webtoon made by Dong-Gyeon Lee, and it honestly shows. Dong-Gyeon Lee makes one of the greatest webtoons of all time, and this webtoon shows his origins. Naturally, it isn't as good as the others, mostly because of this one not having an overarching story, but it's still cool to read just for the novelty of reading all of his works. Swolemates is a webtoon about romance and working out. The main character is a girl who's trying to be a pro esports player but has self-confidence issues, so they go to the gym and become super jacked because of it. I have no idea where the story may go, but it's cool to see a webtoon accurately portray modern gaming. Carl is a webtoon about sentient robots doing therapy. It hasn't been updated for the majority of the year, but other than that, it's a crazy read and portrays the public's reactions to such a thing like a sentient robot pretty damn realistically. Made for Hire is a webtoon about a poor girl dating a rich guy, which started from the girl being the guy's maid for a bit. It's a bit more in depth than that, which is why it's in higher C tier, but I can't say much more without spoiling it, so you have to just take my word that it's good. Lore Olympus is a Greek mythology fanfic about Persephone and Hades, but in webtoon form. But seriously, the story covers a lot of mature topics, which is fitting knowing what the Greek gods are like, and the art styles are very unique. It is arguably the most popular romance webtoon that's currently ongoing. Boyfriend of the Dead is an awesome rom-com webtoon about finding love in the zombie apocalypse, because the zombie is a cook who is too much of a food snob to stoop to that level. It uploaded the miniseries this year, which is a sweet read, but I'm really looking forward to the main story progression. Brass and Sass is a webtoon about love in a high school band. It was an A tier webtoon last year, but because of the ending, it was sadly pretty bad and got taken down to low B tier. It was a real shame too, because I think the portrayal of Asian parents in the webtoons was most spot on in any other webtoon I've ever read, and seeing one of the Indian kids getting yelled at by their parents triggered that same sense that I feel in my heart when I think I'm about to get hit with my parents. Also, just spoiler, I'm like 20, don't worry, that doesn't happen anymore, that was just when I was a kid, and it's not domestic abuse. I love my parents very much. Blacksmith is a crazy cool webtoon about pirates and morality. I think this webtoon should be higher, but because of recency bias, it goes here. Also, a fun thing about this webtoon is that the author responds to a load of the comments, and reading the comments has become more special because of it. The Dog Diaries is an amazing webtoon because it displayed to me that I should never get a pet. It shows the pros and cons of adopting dogs and the issues that come with it. As someone who's never owned a pet harder than a goldfish, the webtoon has taught me so much more than I ever knew about how hard dog owners have it, and I'll commend you all. From a safe, petless distance. Do You Remember is a webtoon that is in such a unique and crazy fantasy world that I cannot succinctly describe everything in one sentence. It has purple eyes, crying magic balls, hungry umbrellas and gloves, and it probably has a whole bunch more that the author hasn't even shown yet. If you want a crazy good indie fantasy, read this webtoon. Lovers of the Galaxy is a webtoon about a lot of things really. It's about aliens, Jews getting lost in the Himalayas, school club, romance, and it's really hard for me to explain it all. All I can say is that it's really pretty in the art style, and I have no idea where it's going. And stories that aren't contrived as shit usually belong in B tier. My Dutch Boyfriend is about an influencer pretending to date a fat anime nerd and vlogging his weight loss journey for views while stringing him on, and all the while she slowly falls for him. The commentary on influencer culture is quite real, and the art is also very pretty. However, this webtoon, got its fair share of hate, as we will find out later. Spellbound is another fantasy type webtoon that is an isekai in an entirely unique world. Besides the webtoon being really cool, the main character just doesn't want to have anything to do with it and tries to get out of this and go back to Earth and live a normal life, which I think is actually a very realistic reaction that a lot of webtoons just kind of forget to do. Besides that, the world is actually very cool and unique, involving different species and stuff that aren't showcased in other isekais, as well as it shows the connection between Earth as well as this fantasy world, being more special than just, oh, Lamau, it's random, and it has more depth of story, and it's going to go even deeper in the future episodes. Beans and Burb is a webtoon made by the animator Baglets. It is a fourth wall breaking chaotic comedy, and it is so meta that it has superseded all the other webtoons that attempt being meta. This year is a lot less of the craziness and opted for more romance, but nevertheless it's still a great read with even greater art. Of Swamp and Sea is a romance between a cute bookwormish girl and a rugged bounty hunter. A little contrived, but once again it's set in a unique world, though less unique than the ones I mentioned before. Putting that aside, the romance in the webtoon is so good, and some of the characters in this webtoon are very unique in their design. High Class Homeless is a webtoon about a prince marrying a princess, except both of them are gay and besties, and they're marrying each other just as a front, so their parents stop insisting them to get actually married. It hasn't updated since January, but that doesn't change the fact that it's such a cute romance and the art style matches it perfectly. Down to Earth is a romance webtoon about a guy falling in love with an alien girl. It is a little raunchy, and the romance is a little unpredictable in not the best of ways, but the quality art makes up for it. Senorita Cometa is a webtoon about stopping human trafficking. With missing girls, 2 rival mafias, and corruption within the police, someone had to take matters into their own hands, and it was the masked hero that is known to the public only as Cometa, except, while everyone thinks Cometa is a guy, it's actually an IT girl who works for the police, trying to find her missing best friend. The romance, art, and story are so great in how they intertwine, and if any of that interested you, then please give this webtoon a read. 1HP Club is a webtoon about D&D, and it portrays the feeling really well. It has all the vibes of your standard TTRPG night, absurdity included, except the absurdity is actually in accurate amounts. I am fairly certain that this is based off an actual D&D game that the author is playing through, which worries me as I know that many D&D games don't actually end, but here's hoping because webtoon is too good just to be left hanging. Not So Shoujo Love Story is a girls' love webtoon about a tomboy looking for the romance that she's always dreamed of, and she's seen in the comics that she reads, only to find out that the most popular girl in school actually has fallen in love for her. And so the development of her finding out that she's actually bisexual and all that is really, really interesting. And there's also a lot of really good side story elements that I very much appreciate. Night Owls and Summer Skies is another girls' love webtoon, but based off a book. It ended pretty quickly, as books often so do, but not without leaving me well satisfied with the stories and the characters. I think that a lot of webtoons just tend to drag on way longer than they should, so having a webtoon that just is packed with a lot of romance and drama goodness, and leaving before it all starts to stale away, is just delectable. Castle Summer is a boy love webtoon that is set in a really interesting underwater world. I love the vibes of the ocean, so reading this was a no-brainer, and it delivered. The characters are great, the romance is sweet, the world is unique, and the story is unpredictable. What more do you want? The Kiss Fet is a romance webtoon that follows a pretty standard path, but the way that it does it is so interesting. My favorite parts are honestly the side character interactions, but honestly there are so many of them that I don't even know what to mark as a side character interaction and what to mark as a main character interaction anymore. And that kind of thing is exactly what makes Kiss Fet an A tier. Mage and Demon Queen is a girl's love about a very powerful mage who just wants to wed the Demon Queen. It ended this year, and when I read the epilogue, I literally audibly popped off in my bed at like 2-3 a.m. when I was reading it. That's all I'll say about it, and if that piques your curiosity, please give it a read. Marionetta is a webtoon about an undying circus and the mysteries behind this world, where magic definitely exists, and the government is definitely using it, but they are brainwashing everyone into thinking it doesn't exist. The story follows a girl who is very strict on the rules, and watching her learn to bend the rules when she finds proof that all that she was taught is not all that it seems is very, very cool to see. There's so much about this webtoon that I love, from the art to the romance to the mystery, and the only reason why it isn't higher is, again, recency bias, but A tier is a sweet A tier nevertheless. Maybe Meant to Be is a webtoon about a guy and a girl who get married because both families are putting pressure on them, and the real romance that blossoms from that. I've already said this so many times in this video, but I really mean it this time when I say that the art in this webtoon is really damn good. The side character romance is also very good, and those are just 2 simple reasons why you should definitely read this webtoon. The Teenage Dragon is such a goated webtoon. It is a double isekai where a girl goes into a dragon's body and vice versa. We mostly follow the girl in the dragon's body, but we get one panel at the end of every episode following the dragon in the girl's body, and both of those are great. This webtoon uses swears for comedic effect, and that is fucking hilarious. The romance and humanization of the dragon in the girl's body is just so fun to watch, and the absurdity of this webtoon is so high, and it just makes it such a great comedy webtoon to read. Read this if you want a real good laugh. I Love You is not a webtoon that I would usually like. It looks like a standard love triangle setup with an antisocial, depressed type girl who meets these 2 stepbrothers, but honestly, the way this webtoon is going, I have no idea who the main girl is going to end up with, or if she might end up with anyone at all. And that is just one simple way, without spoiling anything, of why this webtoon is so damn good. Even though it has depressive vibes, the characters and the kind of depth that it goes into is just really good. Also, Died Your Best Boy. Lackadaisy is a webtoon that I indeed got into due to the absolutely gorgeous YouTube pilot, and I have no regrets on that. I have watched the pilot numerous times, and the world and style of that made me realize I had to read the webtoon. Pilot aside though, the story in the webtoon is not only funny, but quite serious at times, which makes sense considering that we follow illegal activities during the Prohibition era. If you aren't going to read the webtoon, at least watch the pilot on YouTube. It is just so good. How to Become a Dragon is a webtoon written by Eon, who wrote the first webtoon I have ever read, super secret. Instead of me blabbing on about it, I asked Bari Apologist to write a review for me. Bari Apologist writes these amazing in-depth essays in the comments, and it's so fun to read those. And so I reached out to him and asked if he could write a review, and he graciously wrote me a review. Big thanks to him, and please check out his Tumblr in the description. Without further ado, this is his review. Also note, HTBAD means How to Become a Dragon. He uses that shorthand. The writing of HTBAD is so well done. Eon handles serious topics with a lot of care and respect. Every moment in this series has so much planning and foreshadowing behind it, nothing ever feels sudden and all of it happens for a reason. When it comes to themes in HTBAD, choice and love have always been big ones. The belief that everyone has a choice in something is what drive HTBAD's theme, whether this choice be in their kind behavior or cruel. It's always been this series that's about how people and their choices drive what happens. The way that the relationships and emotions can both be weaknesses and strengths to people. That's how HTBAD is about love at the same time. Not just romantic, but familial, platonic, etc. HTBAD doesn't treat love and kindness as a weakness, but as something to treat it as both painful and a strength depending on the situation. HTBAD has characters of all kinds, and seeing how the characters are affected by the situation is so fascinating and so well executed. I'll have to stop talking about it writing here, otherwise the review becomes so long. But as an extra note, the art in HTBAD is gorgeous. Eon has many parallels to earlier episodes, and the way they use art to convey emotion is perfect. Eon has always been amazing at conveying emotions through their works. This is only a fraction of how much Barney Apologist can write, and he's written a lot more in the comments. If this isn't convenient to read HTBAD, then I don't know how I could ever. Daily Jojo is written by Dong Gyun Lee, who also wrote Bittersweet Life, as I talked about earlier. It seems like a standard office romance type webtoon, but Dong Gyun Lee is so good at making even that an extremely unique experience. From visualizing luck to censoring raunchy scenes, this webtoon is chock full of imagination and cool ideas. Within how much I'm praising it, you may think that it's impossible for this not to be an S tier, but I assure you that the following 4 webtoons are truly legendary. Odd Girl Out is a webtoon that seems like it's quite simple. A traditionally unattractive girl finds herself in a friend group with 4 absolutely stunning girls. However, as she gets to know each and every one of them, we can understand their unique struggles. In the past, the girls were shown equally. However, this year, the story went for more of a love triangle setup. That doesn't mean that the webtoon decreased in quality at all, as we learned about both the boys and their in-depth stories and struggles as well. It has fell off a little bit since last year, I will admit, because it had much more of a friendship vibe, and going for the romantic route, while it is cool to see, is definitely not what it originally intended off to. But it still shines in the same way they used to, so that's why it's the bottom of S tier. If you are looking for a nostalgic experience that is new and fresh, look no further than the webtoon Nomads. In this world of many kingdoms, the only ones that can travel them all are the ones that are branded as nomads, and nomads give the right to settle down in a location for the ability to travel freely. All the characters and the interactions between them feel like the funniest cartoons I've ever seen in my childhood, and the story and twists and turns are immaculate. Oh, did I also mention that this world is entirely fantasy and feels like it came out of my dreams? The uniqueness of this world, the hilarity of the interaction of the characters, and everything in between is so beautiful and perfect. Absolutely goated, easy S tier. The Greatest Estate Developer seems like your standard follow to the book isekai, except the protagonist is a hardworking civil engineer. It is interesting to see how the MC carries out his experiences into the real world, both knowledge of modern engineering and the book's main plot, to his terrible experience that he experienced back in the real world. The art is gorgeous, the comedy hilarious, the romance mostly non-existent, but the taste of romance that we get are enough to make my heart skip a beat. There's also a whole bunch of other things about this webtoon that make it so damn good. From light little side story stuff, to also the fact that the main character isn't overpowered at all. His main power, in fact, comes to knowledge. Not being absurdly knowledgeable, but just because he was a hardworking engineering student, and he could use that to obviously make mad profit in this world. I can't sing enough praises for this webtoon. You will have to read it. Cursed Princess Club is the greatest webtoon this year by far. It is the funniest webtoon in the way that it sets up both small and large jokes alike. The way that the story ties together large plot points and small things from the beginning is just so clever. And the romance in this webtoon is absolutely nutty bananas. God, I love this webtoon. It sets up things that you would make you expect one thing, but it subverts expectations every single time. This is because this webtoon knows what subversions of expectation are used in popular media and chooses to not use those, and instead use them where you least expect it. If you have any interest in the rom-com genre, I cannot stress enough how you will get some enjoyment, at least any enjoyment out of this webtoon. It is a fool's errand not to read this webtoon right after this video. Before I end this video, here are some bonus subjective objective awards that I did not do last time. I ran some numbers and found the info on the greatest and worst things about webtoons, and will hand them out awards based off of that. First off is the most underrated webtoon. To find this, I took each webtoon's score and divided by the number of subs they have to find the highest score for the lowest subscribers. The winner is Do You Remember, followed by How to Become a Dragon and Bittersweet Life. The next award goes to the most overrated webtoon, which is the opposite, which go to a whole bunch of Merryweather comics, followed by The Gamer and True Beauty. The next award is the most retentive award. The most retentive award goes to the award that keeps the most amount of attention for the viewers. To find out which webtoon is the most retentive, I first only look at the webtoons that have more than 100 episodes. Amongst those 100 episode webtoons, I take the ratio between the middle episode's likes and the first episode's like to find out how many people are still liking halfway through. Without further ado, the most retentive award goes to Lore Olympus, with Boyfriend of the Dead in second and Greatest Estate Developer in third. Next up, we have least retentive, which is talking about the webtoons that have over 100 episodes that bore people out. The winner, or I guess loser, goes to Strongest Florist in first, second place goes to Surprisingly a Bittersweet Life, and third goes to Game Masters. Next one is a simple one, which is Most Liked by the Public. The Most Liked by the Public award simply uses the webtoon rating feature to see which are the highest and lowest webtoons ratings for the webtoons that I rated this year. The winner is The Greatest Estate Developer, second is Loving Reaper, and third is unsurprisingly Castle Swimmer. The last and least award is Most Hated by the Public. That award surprisingly goes to Archie Comics' Big Ethel Energy. Second is My Dud Stud Boyfriend, which makes sense if you're impulsively rating it down because of the starting. And the third goes to Game Masters Shippuden. Here are the webtoons I didn't rate this year and their previous rankings. 10th Dimension Boys, 11 of Me, A City Called Nowhere, Andy Bass, As Per Usual, Axed, Based on Real Life, Brimstone and Roses, Don't Hate, Dustin Interactive, Everywhere and Nowhere, Fox Girls Are Better, God Please Make Me a Demon, Happy Bunny, Hyperlinked, I Hate You, I Love You, Illustrated Internet, Lars's Heart, Let's Play, Lovecraft Girls and or How to Survive the Apocalypse, Luff, Magicology, Meow Man, Merkworks, Mom I'm Sorry, Murs, My Daughter's a Zombie, My Girlfriend Doesn't Work Warlord, My Incubus Boyfriend, My Succubus Girlfriend, Real Original Merryweather, Nothing New, Oh Dream, 1 Million Gold, Rewriting Extinction, Roommates, Safi the One-Eyed Cat, Say Her I'm Sorry, Welcome to Our Galaxy, Shoot Around, Snailology, Stalker x Stalker, Super Secret, The Four of Us, The Horizon, The Sound of Your Heart, The Wrath in the Dawn, Trixie, Unlucky as Lucky Does, Virgin vs. Chad, Your Adventure, and last and so not least, that it was actually first last year, is Yumi's Cells. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you have a happy 2024. Big special thanks to Barry Apologies. Please check out his Tumblr in the description. Thank you for watching this insanely long video, or at least watching any part of it. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Thanks for noticing me. Peace.